Healthy aging. Can we really slow down the passage of time? Aging is one of the few experiences shared by virtually every human being, regardless of where they are born, how wealthy they become, or what kind of life they lead. Yet despite its inevitability, aging remains surprisingly mysterious. Why do some people remain physically active and mentally sharp well into their 80s, while others experience serious health problems decades earlier? And perhaps the most intriguing question of all is this: can we influence how we age? For centuries, humanity has searched for ways to extend life. Ancient civilizations experimented with special diets, medicinal plants, unusual rituals, and supposed fountains of youth. Modern science has approached the same question from a radically different direction. Rather than searching for immortality, researchers increasingly focus on healthspan, the number of years a person can live in good physical and mental condition. This distinction is crucial. Living to 100 may sound impressive, but longevity alone does not necessarily mean a better life. If additional years are dominated by frailty, chronic illness, or cognitive decline, a longer lifespan may offer little advantage. Healthy aging, therefore, is not simply about adding years to life. It is about adding life to those years. At first glance, aging seems straightforward. Our hair turns gray, our skin becomes less elastic, our muscles gradually lose strength, and our eyesight may deteriorate. Beneath these visible changes, however, lies an extraordinarily complicated biological process. Our bodies are constantly repairing themselves. Cells replace damaged components, DNA is monitored for errors, proteins are broken down and rebuilt, and the immune system searches for potential threats. When we are young, these maintenance systems generally operate with remarkable efficiency. As the decades pass, however, their effectiveness gradually declines. Scientists have identified a range of biological processes associated with aging, including the accumulation of cellular damage, changes in the immune system, and the gradual loss of the regenerative capacity of certain tissues. None of these processes operates in isolation. Instead, they interact in a complex biological network. This helps explain why aging cannot be reduced to a single cause or cured by a single treatment. If there is one lesson that repeatedly emerges from research into healthy aging, it is that physical activity matters enormously. Regular exercise does far more than strengthen muscles. Walking, cycling, swimming, and other forms of aerobic activity can support cardiovascular health, while resistance training helps preserve muscle mass and bone strength. This becomes increasingly important with age because the gradual loss of muscle can eventually affect balance, independence, and the ability to perform everyday activities. Interestingly, healthy aging does not require someone to become an elite athlete. Consistency is far more important than intensity. A person who walks regularly, climbs stairs, carries shopping bags, and performs simple strength exercises may be doing something profoundly valuable for their future health. Physical activity can also benefit mental well-being by reducing stress and creating opportunities for social interaction. Diet is another major piece of the puzzle. Rather than relying on a fashionable superfood, researchers generally emphasize dietary patterns. Diets rich in vegetables, fruits, legumes, whole grains, nuts, and other minimally processed foods are associated with better long-term health. Adequate protein also becomes particularly important in later life because maintaining muscle requires sufficient building material. The broader lesson is surprisingly simple: healthy aging is rarely built on spectacular decisions. It is usually the result of ordinary decisions repeated for years. The brain deserves equal attention. Although some cognitive changes are a normal part of growing older, the brain remains capable of adapting throughout life. Learning a language, playing a musical instrument, reading challenging material, solving problems, and developing new skills can provide valuable mental stimulation. Social relationships are equally important. Meaningful interaction with friends, relatives, and communities can provide emotional support, a sense of belonging, and opportunities to remain mentally engaged. Sleep should not be overlooked either. During sleep, the brain and body carry out important maintenance processes, while chronically inadequate sleep can affect concentration, mood, and memory. In this sense, healthy aging is not merely about what we do during the day, it is also about how effectively we allow the body to recover. Perhaps the most fascinating aspect of aging is that longevity is not purely a biological story. People who maintain strong social connections often experience better health outcomes than those who become socially isolated. This suggests that healthy aging may depend partly on a question modern societies sometimes overlook: do older people still feel that they matter? Scientists are also investigating whether it may eventually be possible to influence the biological mechanisms of aging itself. Research into cellular senescence, metabolism, and inflammation has produced intriguing possibilities. However, promising laboratory findings should not be confused with proven treatments. The internet is already crowded with supplements and therapies claiming to reverse aging, many of which have little convincing evidence behind them. For now, there is no scientifically established method that can stop human aging altogether. Perhaps that is not such a disappointing conclusion. Aging is not simply a disease that humanity has failed to cure, it is a fundamental feature of living organisms. The more realistic goal is to understand why some people age more successfully than others and to increase the number of years spent in good health. We cannot stop the clock. But through movement, sensible nutrition, adequate sleep, intellectual curiosity, and meaningful human relationships, we may be able to influence what happens while it is ticking.